The YouTube channel name, I think I have it as a command. Yeah, so it's just the channel and then my name at the end. I code and Houdini feels very natural to me. Very interested in using particles as pyro source. I'd love to see something about this from you. Yeah, pretty much all the pyro streams I'm using particles as a source. I'm not using the traditional method, like they have a special node for it. This will take particles and then give you volumes, or basically rasterize, like voxelize or convert the particles to a volume. And what I'm usually doing inside of here is bringing the particles into the DOP network and then doing gas particle to field. So it's a little bit more technical, but I think it's a little bit more optimized, especially when you're working on the GPU and stuff like that, because you're not having to transfer an entire volume onto the GPU. You just transfer the particles, and then it's just a little bit easier to manage things as well. But yeah, in all the old streams, if you look through my VODs, you'll see me using some particles as sources and stuff like that. But yeah, Houdini, for people who program, it should feel pretty natural, just because it's like using functions and thinking about things that way. Like Houdini is kind of like visual programming or stuff like that. Even the nodes. If you're thinking about taking, like, just do the pig head and do like a remesh, maybe get rid of this shader, just gets messed up with the process. But basically this is like taking a geometry file in like a command and then running a remesh or calling the remesh function with some different arguments to output this as a process. So even this is like visual programming in a sense, or it's like just you have a lot more visualization of the process that's happening. And then you can use the wrangles, of course. That's really nice. Efficient programming language for Houdini or shader building. That you could also run these shaders on geometry. It's really fast. So you're just able to manage lots of different programming languages, nodes, commands, and everything like that in a one user interface that just makes Houdini pretty approachable for programmers. If you're coming at it from another software perspective, it's usually a little bit more confusing because you're not used to thinking that way. But for programmers, it's usually pretty nice. Bismarck, how's it going? We're just getting started. So I'm thinking about doing some stuff today with like reaction diffusion type things. It's kind of like a abstract growth technique or whatever. The Chatterino beeps when someone tags you. Yeah, it seems like just a better, like originally with the Twitch chat, I would do, if you click on the top right and do pop out, I was doing like a floating window or whatever like this for a little bit. But the Chatterino is a next level thing that's just a better way to manage the window, and like you could load history, yeah, and then just keeping track of if you have multiple chats at the top, or there's just a lot more little tricks and stuff you can do with it. It's pretty cool. If you're a Twitch power user, get the Chatterino app. I think it's open source and it's cross-platform or whatever, so it's a good tool or whatever. I guess you could call it a tool. So yeah, I'll just do this pop network. So I'm not going to do a super programmatic or Vex deep dive into reaction diffusion. I'm just going to do a little bit simpler idea. This is basically going to be like iterative resampling or remesh. Yeah, so in pops, you can resample and do some stuff like that. So just set this up. I don't want to emit particles or anything from the line. I just want to bring in all the geometry. If you turn off the guide, it's a little bit easier to see it. And then for birth, let me just add a force so it's a little bit clearer as to what's going on. Do a noise. So right now we're just spraying out lines constantly. Turn on the timeline. We have our Windows 98 Mystify screensaver or something like that. But if we want to just have the line imported as like source or starting geometry, you just do $SF equals 1. So it just says on the very first simulation frame, SF is simulation frame. So at the start of your, or start frame, doesn't stand for start frame, but you could use it to remember it that way. It's just simulation frame. And the reason it's different than floating frame is because if you make the substeps higher, the simulation frame would increment like 7 times per frame. But yeah, if you just set this equal to 1, yeah, the workflow would be pretty similar if you use Pyro as a source. I'm not going to get too technical with DOPs and do all that stuff right now, but if you wanted to, you could combine a Pyro simulation and everything in the same DOP network. I'm usually doing it as a secondary simulation, but it's a similar workflow for Pyro. The nice thing about DOPs with Houdini is that other software packages like different dynamics things are made by different developers or they're different implementations, but Houdini is somewhat like the same standards or the same process because it's all developed by side effects and then it's all within the same network. So yeah, just $SF equals 1. It's just saying when the simulation frame is 1 or it's the first frame of the simulation, bring in the line or the geometry. And then if I want to resample the line, I need to do it within a SOP solver. So we're in dynamics context up here. You can see it says dynamics, or it's the DOP dynamics operators. So if I try to type in resample, you can see it doesn't show up in the tab menu. We have all the DOP specific nodes. So if I want to run SOP nodes over the geometry, you can just do it like this. And then you double click, and whatever you put in here, you notice we're back in the geometry context. We have access to all the SOPs. So if I just do resample, then I can actually modify or run SOPs to modify the geometry. I'll usually pin the view at the DOP level right here. You'll sometimes get issues if you try to play the simulation from within this network. Like within a SOP solver, sometimes you have viewport issues. So you'd see the big advantage we have here is that instead of this line staying straight and just having 2 points, every frame it retopologizes it or resamples it so that it can keep like unrolling or adding more detail or stuff like that. Barely started and already impressed. 5-10 minutes in, minds are already blown. Alex, how's it going? Good to see you again. Yes, I'm doing some reaction diffusion type stuff today. It's like there's other names and stuff it goes by, I think, like Gary Scott reaction diffusion, or there's other terminology of similar techniques and stuff as well that people refer to it as. But yeah, it's very like nature mimicking coral. A lot of coral growth kind of has that pattern. Like twisted, folded up curves and stuff like that, kind of. Let me see here. Yeah, so this, if you just search coral reaction diffusion, this is a pretty nice color scheme this guy had here. But yeah, there's a lot of different ways to approach this. Intagma has some coverage of it, or some workflows for it. Coding voids, L systems, and cellular automata. Yeah, a lot of the growth it's a good way to learn programming and stuff, because you're like creating stuff that's visually interesting, but to understand the algorithms and stuff, it's nice to like have an interesting result to do, instead of just doing like hello world or different tedious kind of examples. But yeah, you can get really nice, cool looking results with it. So yeah, right now we're not doing really reaction diffusion, we're just doing like spaghetti growing pasta simulations. Printing hello world is also very portfolio worthy. It's a requirement. Your first blog post or your first portfolio work needs to be hello world. Yeah, so we'll do, what I might do, what I might do is have like a grid, a grid with in the second input, and then inside of here I'm just gonna do object merge. If I just want to fetch whatever's in the second input, I think I can do it with the op input path. We just need to go up an additional level than we usually do when we're using this. Whoops. Yeah. So I'm just going to pull in that grid that I made into my SOP solver, and then do the ray operation within here. So what I can do with this, project rays or minimum distance. Project rays looks for the normal, but because we don't have a direction or normal to project along, nothing happens. So if you just do minimum distance, this will snap without looking at a direction attribute or anything like that. And then you can see that this is like only sliding along that ground plane, or just the grid that I added. But yeah, you could do other geometry if we tried to, maybe the torus. Just pin the view up here. The curve can resample itself and keep like unfolding, but it's always gonna slide or be stuck, like glued. Not necessarily glued, because it can still slide it around, but it will keep getting projected or pushed to constrained to be on the surface. Time for grains. I don't think I'm gonna do grains for this one. What I'm actually gonna do, there's just a lower level, or another one that's just the gas particle separate. So this one, you can look at a p-scale and it will push geometry apart. So if I do a pop wrangle, I can use this to assign p-scale. Do p-scale equals something. Maybe I'll try it a little bit bigger. If I do the D key over here with geometry disks, should be able to, maybe I'm visualizing too much stuff. So what's happening is, because the points are part of a primitive. It doesn't show the P scales or the disks. I think one thing you can do is like the detail attribute. It's this GL underscore show all points if you want it to draw the disks or the grids or whatever. So GL stands for OpenGL. It's like a viewport hint. And if it's a detail attribute, it will just get stored at one place on the geometry, not on each element. So this is just an easy way if you want to visualize the P scale. Just woke up. Romulus, how's it going? Time to get to work. So yeah, if we compare the two of these, the P scale and resample kind of are linked together in an interesting way. So you don't want, like, you want to make sure you have enough of these overlapping or whatever. Let me I think my stuff is starting out just a little bit too tangled. It's just causing some issues. So I might go back to the grid, maybe start with a circle instead of a line. We'll just put this on the ZX plane and start it pretty small. Ooh. Oh. So I think if the P scale isn't big enough, it won't keep it from collapsing, essentially. You can see now when we make it a little bit bigger, just gonna go back to points. We're actually starting to get a little bit of that like patterning, the familiar patterning of reaction diffusion or whatever. So this distance scale, like you could see if I had the P scale too small, or just if your distance scale, this is like a multiplier internally for P scale, it collapses in on itself. If you make it big enough, I'm kind of made it too big there that it's causing artifacts or whatever, but you make it bigger and then you can start to get some of these patterns and stuff like that. So the P scale and resample are, like I was talking, kind of linked. If we reduce resample, you can see that kind of somewhat drastically changes the result of the pattern and the frequency of the pattern and everything like that. And then I might switch this from straight edges to subdivision. Yeah, you could resample, you could link it. Yeah, we could do that as well. So if you just do this PT dist, you could set it to override P scale and then just overwrite it, or not overwrite it, but divide it by 2.0, like that. Sometimes I think, generally I think for this stuff to happen, it needs to, yeah, it's a little bit weird, like you don't, it's just weird results. You don't necessarily want them to be one-to-one. Like I think I've usually found that you want the P scale to be 4 or 5 times as big as that resample setting, so it's a little bit unexpected, I guess. But there's a lot of different ways to link stuff up or whatever. But yeah, you can as well control it right here. So I think maybe if I went back to just kind of normalizing that, so maybe let's take a look. So maybe we don't even need to divide that. Looks like they're overlapping there. Maybe it's just like 1.5. So let's go up here. Yeah, so you could set it over here and make the distance bigger, I think. But yeah, you need a little bit of a overlap, like this area here to find stuff to push apart. Otherwise, it will always just collapse, I think. So let's try going smaller. I might. I think in the past, I don't know about this. In the past, I've usually set it up something similar to this way. Let's go back to the points. Yeah, so now it's doing something pretty cool. So all this stuff on here can as well change the results, like iterations. You'll find maybe you'll get different increasing iterations is just doing the separation step and repeating the result a bunch of times. It's the brain. The very wrinkly brain meme. This is the the thought. It's also the solver. It's like the Houdini. Brains everywhere. Yeah, so it's pretty easy to set up, and then it's pretty fast to run the simulation. It's not necessarily, yeah. So there's other like reaction diffusion methods, or there's other things that require you to run your process on a volume or a grid that can be pretty slow. So doing this resample geometry stuff is pretty quick. You can even do it in like 3D. Like if I get rid of that ray projection, might not work as well. Yeah, if you do it in 3D and constrain it to be within a shape, you can do like a brain or something like that. I've used the particle separate to do like somewhat similar stuff before. I'm gonna try to do a different thing with it, but like a year, I don't remember how long ago, but yeah, I was doing like this kind of thing with it. Not the exact same process, but it was using the gas particle separate, and I think even this one was using similar ideas or whatever, but yeah, doing stuff with 3D and just using remesh instead of resample to get like a 3D surface or whatever. Athan.me doing some reaction diffusion stuff today. You can also visualize it down here if you just go to wireframe. Sometimes this gets, sometimes you get flickering, so it takes a little bit of finessing to get stuff looking a little bit cleaner, but generally you could get pretty good results and stuff. It's so quick that you can tweak it and everything pretty easily. We got a weird little bone structure or something like that. So yeah, even if you're not projecting it or raying it back onto the surface, then you can get results in 3D and stuff will be pretty cool. So I might just disable that for right now to make sure that I remember where I'm setting the P scale. I might reduce the swirl size of the pop force. It seems like it's not really doing anything. Let me turn that off. It shouldn't really be. I guess you could do this guide. It shouldn't really be that everything is like a different scale. I don't know why it's let me try just like a horizontal thing. Maybe it's just that my resample isn't adding enough detail. Recommended to add offsets. This is biased around the origin when there's no offset. Yeah, I mean, we could try that. I'm not thinking that that's... I think something else is... something much more sinister might be at play. I don't know what it is. Let me just switch this to polygon, and that might have been an issue. I think that might have been it. So I think it was just because I was being an idiot and forgot to switch this to the polygon data type, and then the resample and stuff was duh. I was making too many brains. I forgot to turn my brain on, my own brain. But yeah, now we can try the particle to separate, and we are back in action somewhat. So yeah, now the noise is just cranked way too high. But you can use the noise here to add, to imprint extra stuff. Don't need a brain for the CoolZone. We still kind of need a brain today. Trying to do less programming, like just simple expressions or snippets. But yeah, it's Houdini. You always need maybe 1% of your brain functioning, at least. So we could leave this at 0.01. And then over here, I'm just going to go back to one iteration and maybe try increasing that. We're going to need to fix this stuff right here somehow. I don't know if that's all just from my, I guess if my noise is like too high, but I don't have enough substeps, it might start tangling stuff up too much like that. Go with the flow. So yeah, you guys understand this, the stuff I'm talking about here. Like, if we make this noise too chaotic or too strong, yeah, I think it's causing funkiness, but I think it's just if you don't have enough substeps, or you're just moving. Like, if you don't have enough substeps, you're moving stuff through itself without this running an iteration to resolve that penetration. You were away having dinner. This is what your dinner looked like. I did some reaction diffusion stuff with the end goal getting like a little abstract work together in the next hour or 2 hours or so, but just setting things up right now. So in this pop network, we have a just feeding in a line or a circle, and then some noise is moving it around, and this gas particle to separate pushes it apart. And then inside of here, we're doing the resample and project. So it's resample is keeping a set amount of points per distance. So even as this stretches out, it will add more points. And then it keeps getting projected to a grid. Look at spaghetti. To have a plate of one single spaghetti noodle that looks like this. So yeah, and then this distance scale, there's another issue here with it too big, is that you get the tangling, but you can use that, or you can as well adjust p scale. I'm just gonna switch to multiplication. Sometimes dividing by a really small number just starts to look not, it's like a programmer's way of doing too much stuff. But yeah, if I change this p-scale multiplication, you'd see we get some different results as well with that. I might go, whoa, boom. Got out of hand really quickly. So yeah, it's getting pushed past the grid. I think my p-scale there, just all those things stacked up too much. Is there a way to stream a single line of particles in pop to see how pop wind and turbulence is working on it? I'm not sure when you're talking about streams, if you're talking about pop streams. Like these groups, basically you have streams here, as it will inherit where the stuff emitted from. But that's a good way when you're doing multiple sources and stuff to keep track of it and apply forces. So if I had other things, like I could do, my stream would be this. So yeah, a single line, like you could do wind and stuff that way, to just apply it to specific things. Yeah, the pop location source is good for just emitting a single line. With Vellum, it's better with constraints, but I've had issues, or it becomes a bit more of a science experiment, and when I've tried it with if I'm retopologizing things each frame, like adding or disabling constraints with Vellum seems to be a bit more difficult to do. So yeah, we'll just keep going. movie time tonight. We'll restream. What movie is on the agenda? I haven't done a movie in the weeks. I'm behind on my list of things to watch. So I'm gonna try to make this a bit thicker. And maybe go higher again with the P scale. Trying to get like more negative space or white area. Yeah, enjoy the movie. Get the popcorn going. Don't get kicked out of the house. Thanks again for the raid. I appreciate it. Hope you had a good stream. I hope your project's moving along. I did take a look at the edit you put together, but I'll probably go through it more in depth, maybe either in Discord or when I get back to that car project on a different day. But yeah, the edit you have for your project looks pretty cool. It's definitely a big undertaking though. It's a lot to this is like a Hollywood VFX quick edits and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just gonna try to get the gaps a little bit bigger. You could change the noise scale over time. I don't think right now I don't think the noise is like changing too much of my end result. I might just disable it until I set things up a little bit better, but I'm trying to get more of a gap between things. It's possible maybe I just need doing too much. But yeah, you could change the noise scale over time. I don't know how much it would change the pattern. What you might want to do if you're trying to do something like that is like freeze or disable points at a certain after a certain time so that they're not able to move around. Because one of the issues with the noise is that it will keep like sliding, like even points that have already generated part of the pattern, it will keep pushing those around. So yeah. Something like this is starting to look pretty cool. Yeah, I was thinking about adding some colliders to have like some negative space or something like that. I might go back to the Taurus so that it's whoa. Boom. So that it's back to 3D geometry. But yeah, maybe have it bigger. I'm gonna get rid of these substeps for right now. If you want to get rid of these faceting stuff, I think you just subdivide. Just like not enough resolution or detail on the torus itself. So I just do 3 iterations of subdivision. But yeah, so what I was saying earlier with the noise stuff, Julian, is like either maybe increasing drag quite a bit or something like that to anchor stuff or to prevent it from like drifting around over time. Then your noise would have like a bigger impact. But I think like right now, if I push it pretty hard, it's like everything is gonna keep kind of sliding around and changing the pattern around. So if you just want to change like the leading edge or the front of the area, you might need a way to anchor like stuff that already stopped moving or something like that. I'm not sure what the best way to do that would be. This I'm gonna try going to a bigger. Yeah, you could do it by curvature. You could even do some like p-scale based off of curvature or resample based off of curvature, and that could be pretty interesting to try out as well. Over a pyro mesh, it's definitely possible, I think, because I don't know, just keep projecting it. You might get some tangling and happening, but it like temporarily or like over time, it should be pretty cohesive because everything's like sticking. Even though there's a lot of like retopologizing and stuff happening every frame, it should still be like coherent over time. To do it by age, yeah, I'm not sure which thing exactly to do by age. I think right now I have a bit too much noise. Maybe if I just have that much noise, I need to the slowing down. Yeah, so it's kind of I mean right now, because everything is being emitted at the same time, the age is kind of the same as if you just keyframe stuff based off of time. It's all kind of the same value. Yeah, it's but yeah, if you could have other emitters, you could have other circles growing at different speeds and slowing down at different stuff, and that could be cool. So I'm just going back higher with the substeps, so that my noise is the keep function gonna work. We want interpolation between original geo. You wouldn't necessarily be able to lerp, like if you're talking about time blend or that kind of stuff, because the topology is changing. So you, based off of point position, you couldn't do that, but you could do it based off of like UV or the length of the line. So if I have frame 38 and frame 12, I'm just gonna go with ends right here to unroll. Yeah, it wouldn't be based off of point number or it would be more kind of point position. But like if I wanted, let's maybe go a little bit less far. So like we're going from frame 12 right here to frame 14. And then if you wanted to mix them, you should be able to do it this way. So if I just use the XYZ dist function will give you the primitive number and the primitive UV. So if I get the input coordinates or parametric UV coordinates, like 0 to say myself, position is just the current position, and then say what is the closest primitive number and the closest position on the line that I am. And then if you get these coordinates, and if I visualize them, you could just look at the primitive UV. I'm just doing PU. So this is just a 0 to 1 number along the line. And then if you just say, give me that same position from the other input, from input number 1, or this node over here. Give me the position in world space based off of this coordinate that I just found from the first input. It looks like something just needs to set the position to that. So yeah, I could turn off color, and you can see it's moving stuff like that. And then if you want to, you can lerp between the current point position and the one that it found, and do it based off of this amount. This might need to looks like it has some issues. It might be too much. It looks like it's not happy with it. So we just look at the color. Of this one, and the color of this one. I don't know what the what that track is. It might have been the previous one. It was very had a lot of chimes to it. It had some like pitch bended voices and stuff like that. It's a classic. So yeah, it's some of them they get stuck because it just is the same folder of like a bunch of different ones. But yeah, I think maybe it looks like this should be lining up better than how it was. Let me try it again. Babu Freak. That's from the new Star Wars. But yeah, it looks like maybe this is having some issues. Might be able to do maybe like sort. Maybe by vertex order. You could also try, both of these should be one primitive or one line. You could also try doing the polypath node to like rebuild the curve. Looks like it still has some issues. Sometimes you could get it to blend a little bit better, but yeah, it looks like for this case, it's not happy with some things. Like this area at the bottom right there is blending kind of how you would expect, but then other areas are getting too tangled up or too mixed around. All right, So we'll go back. I'm gonna try adding some colliders to things. So I'll just make a reference copy of the torus, and then just disable the columns and rotations. So the radius, if I change it, or the scale, will still match, but I'm just gonna do copy to points. So these should all be sitting on the surface. And maybe try to get this. Just increase the rows so that they aren't right on the middle, because that's where the that's like my starting position. So I'll just plug this stuff into the next input. Go to polygons as well with this, just so I don't run into the same primitives. Sometimes I guess you just have some problems. Whoa. What is it? What is deserving of the whoa? We go to static object. I keep using the up input path. Just do the dot dot to say the parent node, or the node that this is inside of. And we're going to use the third index. Maybe it was the second. I think that's right. So I just do middle mouse on here to double check. That will evaluate the string. Sometimes even I still get confused. It's like 0, 1, 2, and 3 is the last one. Then you just merge it, pop it in. And by default, I think this is going to try to build the volumetric representation. So we take a look here. We want these spheres to be a little bit higher resolution. You can just increase your uniform divisions. Now they're a little bit more smooth. And then up here, it's currently getting all the objects. You just do pop asterisk. We'll filter it down to exclude the other stuff. Now we're starting to get some geometric, more repetitive patterns or stuff like that. I might make them a little smaller. When you get confused about op input path, you check inside of the solver node. It's a tricky one to use, especially when you start going up and down directories or whatever like that. But yeah, it's just the way that they write. Like, you have to add the functions or the arguments to the function. It's endlessly confusing, I think, at least to me. So I might do drag, maybe. It looked like, go back up here, just turn off the other stuff. Just looked like there was some extra jittering. Like this stuff at the edges here. Might just be moving stuff too fast. Extradite, how's it going? Just keep the viewport up there. Maybe this distance scale, turn it down. New emotes. Yeah, I still, as Steve and some other people are mentioning the Houdini face emote. Some wizard, get some wizards going perhaps as well. Let's go. So maybe, I don't know if we do this length, higher resolution. So increasing substeps helps with some issues, like it helps prevent tangling, but because I'm doing that, because I'm doing this resample step, every single substep, it will always kind of keep retopologizing, and it can keep introducing flickering and stuff like that. So that's one of the reasons I kept kind of keeping this lower or sometimes turning it down. So basically 2 substeps, it will keep doing that every substep. You might be able to do like a multiple solver down here and do this resampling and projection after, so just everything up here is happening however many substeps you have, but it won't be resampled every substep. Maybe that's a better way to do this stuff. It looks like maybe, let me go a bit higher with this distance. Maybe the update amount, that's like a percentage of how much to update stuff. So it's possible if you keep that lower, it won't be as jittery, because it should be like a bit of a smoother operation. I might just do this, go back to the original method I was doing. Descale. Just set it globally. It looks like it's a little more stable, changing 8 different things. All of them maybe contributed a little bit. So yeah, we maybe try going back higher with the noise amplitude. You set random P scales. You can do it. It's a little bit. It doesn't make that big of a difference, I found, because the resampling will keep spacing things out on a certain distance. The biggest thing that you could do to like quickly get some, you might want to do it based off of a noise instead of random. But if you add like the length of the position to everything, it's a bit too big right now. But basically, as it gets further from the origin, it should make the growing like it spread out even more. But I don't know, it becomes a bit difficult to to maintain or to control. But yeah, if I were to try to do it properly, I think doing it based off of a noise or something like that, you could get some areas a bit bigger than others. I'm just gonna go back. So I think this air resistance or the drag was messing up the noise as well. So this pop force, like, it just didn't seem to be pushing stuff around. I think I just had it too much drag, that it was causing it not to push things around. So this doesn't really follow the particle like pop solver rules. It's updating the position directly instead of adding forces and stuff to do it. So drag and pop force doesn't have any effect on this separation. So all that swirling, I think, is happening from the noise now. I might just go lower. I'm just trying to get a more like readable kind of pattern. So less less repetition or less overall frequency to everything. Maybe make these colliders a little bit bigger. Some of this flickering, I think it's just happening because afterwards, like, the wireframes are kind of sliding around. So I think if you do resample, like post-process or post-simulation, maybe do subdivision and make it like a higher resolution overall. Then it's getting rid of some of that flickering. So it's, you can see there, it's just like the shapes sliding around a little bit. Might be too high of a resolution. It's a worm digesting its meal. It's like a snake going to choke the it's like a bunch of snakes multiplying or something like that. But yeah, this is starting to look pretty cool with the negative space, kind of repetition or some symmetry, some stuff that's not symmetrical. I'm gonna see if I can get the spaces a little bit bigger. Whoa. Forbidden spaghetti donuts? I've never seen, you're saying one of those forbidden spaghetti donuts, like it's something everyone eats on a daily basis. I've never heard of that. Is it a real thing? Is it spaghetti disguised to look like a donut? It looks like some of these areas between the colliders. Forbidden snacks. It's a Reddit channel. I guess you could make it out of ramen. Like if you squish ramen into this kind of shape. The ramen burgers or whatever, where they use it to make the bun. But yeah, I think right now my the colliders might be too close together. You can do this magenta flag to do template geometry. If you control click, then it will do the opaque or hard surface visualization. I think my P scale here is just a little too big. Let's try that. And then maybe the update amount. Whoops. Yeah, this when it's symmetrical or they're lined up, it's a pretty cool display. Animate them? You think it will let's do another reference copy. So then I'll just delete the primitive type. Go to NURBS. Get it to do crazy. So we'll try converting this to NURBS, and I'm gonna reuse this primitive UV stuff. So if you do this with a NURBS geometry, you can also get the parametric coordinates. So if I set the color to that primitive coordinate with the line, you could see we were just getting with the X channel like 0 to 1, but with NURBS or with the surface, you can see we not only have an X, but we also have a Y coordinate. I'm gonna maybe go to the defaults for this stuff. Looks like that didn't really make a difference. Ah, you're right. I got ahead of myself. So yeah, it was XYZ disting to itself. So now it's a little bit a better result. So this green with a Y component, you could see is going like around the shell, around the outside that way, and then this X component is like a clockwise kind of thing. So if I add to the X component, or we could try different ones, the time, the scene time, and then read back the surface location. Whoops. Then we just need to set it to override the position. So then it's rotating around. But because when it goes above 1, it can't find its position. I'll just usually keep wrapping the value around itself. If you use modulus, you can use it. Modulus equals 1. Then that just happens. If you do the same idea to Y, you get that flowing kind of thing. Just divide this, make it slower. And then if you also add maybe the X component, then you can start to get like a swirl twist. So as it goes around, it's spinning it around at different increments based off of like the clockwise position. And then inside of here, you just need to be certain you're using deforming geometry. Otherwise it won't update. And I might go lower with this. That's a bit quicker to so it's a bit quicker to update. All right, so I'll just save this. This is the 21st? Oh my goodness. Still August. And then I'm just going to do a flip book. It's kind of a slower operation or whatever. Maybe it will take 1 or 2 minutes to run it. I'll get some water. Oh my god. Brando, thank you for the 3 months. 3-month streak. Tier 1. The Madman. The Madman gifter, subbin, founder. Love the Vex. Yeah, Vex is super useful for, I don't know, doing like little interesting looping animations and stuff like that. Uskar, abstract shizzle. So yeah, I'm doing a flipbook right now. I'd actually was trying earlier today to finish this Einstein thing, but it will get done one day. So yeah, I'll just go to today's directory. Let's take a look. Pretty creepy with the with the animations. See some tangling in some of these areas, it looks like. I mean, I guess the colliders in some areas are pushing, like squeezing the stuff together a little too much, maybe. They're like crossing over each other. So it's also possible if they're moving too fast, like the substeps don't apply to the collider. Let me think. So instead of doing my substeps here, if I do them at the top level, then it should apply to the collider as it's animating. But now we have the issue that this is updating every substep again, resampling every substep, which was causing flickering. If you do intermittent solve, whoops, whoa, it's a long name there. Intermittent solve, you do only once per time step. Then this, you said, if the solve rate is faster than the substepping, do its own additional substepping on the input. So I think what this is doing is only one time per frame it will allow it to run. Does that kind of make sense? Do people? I don't know. I have some doubts. I think I can do it maybe just with frames between solves. Basically, this is you're trying to slow down the solve rate so that it's not happening as many times per frame. Let's just move the camera back and do another flipbook. Do a test. While that's going, I'm gonna look at the documentation. At a regular interval, it's going to ensure certain operations are done at a different rate or independent of any substepping. So this is what I'm trying to do with it, is have this resample happening at an independent rate to everything else. It looks like I'm still getting some overlapping. Might be a bit better. Looks like it is a little bit better with the substeps, but it still has some issues in some areas. So basically what I was doing was switching my substeps to happen globally using them at the DOP level instead of just setting them on the pop solver. If you just set them on the pop solver, basically everything above it is the only things that will get the substeps. It might just be too much pinching with this stuff. It's possible that more of those iterations could help. I'm already doing it at a lower update amount. I don't know if 12. Unfortunately, the increasing those like drastically changes the look of everything overall. Oh dear. Yes, but so that's why I'm not changing them too often, but so basically this is doing the 12 iterations 3 times, like because I did 3 substeps. But it's only still reprojecting back to the surface once every actual frame, so it's not conforming to the surface like quickly enough, and that's why that happens. But yeah, I think the bigger issue is just that my colliders are like too close together, or pushing stuff too much. Do you think different P scales from polywire might cause the overlap? I think the P scale is bigger than the wire radius. Or you could take a look, but I think it's just that the colliders are squeezing, like collisions will override this particle separate. So when the colliders get too close together, it's just making them, like there's areas of the, you might be able to do update amount higher to fix it. But basically there's just areas like out here, things get spread apart, and then as it rotates, it's pushing stuff on top of each other. So if you want to actually visualize the proper P scale, you could do like VDB from particles. And this is the actual P scale values that I'm using, so they're already a lot bigger than this wire radius that I'm visualizing. Because that particle separate and like resample is all connected and stuff, I'm making the P scale a lot bigger than it needs to be. Our esophagus. So yeah, I think maybe getting rid of the twisting. It's a colon. I'm gonna get rid of the twisting, so all this stuff is happening at once. And I don't know if we go less. Maybe just like an X or something like that. So this way they won't get as squeezed together. Let's take a look. It looks like it's a little bit more properly done. I don't know, I'm still trying to get stuff spaced out a little bit more, but oof. Oh no. 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 Ran into a problem. Let's see what happens. Tangle. Like a sewing machine or something, like one thread comes loose, just everything turns into a mess. But yeah, overall, I'm still hoping to get the stuff to like have a bigger gap between itself. We're making a spaghetti monster. All right. No, I don't think pop grains uses the particle separate. I think the particle separate is used with flip. That's where it comes from. But I think everything that they do inside of pop grains is using other stuff, I'm pretty sure. I don't know where the pre-solve, BBD solve. Yeah, I think it's something either OpenCL or Vex, depending on the method you're using. But yeah, I think it's a custom program they're using, especially with neighbors and stuff like that, to get a more stable result. I think they're not using that particle separate. But yeah, the one that does use that is with flip. Somewhere inside of here is that. Oh dear. I don't know if it's the solve. Might be like the advection step or something like that. It might with grains. I don't know. I've had some issues before using this with grains. Just the results don't end up looking as good. We could try it and see what happens. I think I have all the attributes. Yeah, I've just I don't know why, but I've had maybe turning the stiffness down. There's already like some multipliers and stuff that are getting set, but I've generally had issues before with running this stuff using grains. I don't know if this. I think my to get it to like fold up and wrinkle in that fashion is I think where I had been struggling before with let me just gonna turn that stuff off and gonna turn off deforming geometry. It might go a little bit quicker. And then I'll just try maybe. Maybe turning the stiffness back up. I don't know if more iterations. Yeah, I'm not sure. I need to spend some more time looking into it, but it should be possible with that. But for whatever reason, I tend to have just run into issues sometimes. Let's go back. It's like weird. I don't know if it's just the method that it's using. Like this is running some global operation that just happens once, where the pop grains one is like an iterative process. It might be related to that you get these more like structured patterns with this one. I'm not exactly sure though. Oof, too much. Just get rid of that stuff. So yeah, maybe just have the P scale at 1. Go back higher with that distance. Still too much. So I might go back to more of these colliders. I think this X cross shape is a bit too boring. I don't know. I think this like hexagon structure was a bit more interesting. Maybe just less of them around it is interesting. Need to turn the deforming back on. It looks like it's causing some issues when they're pushing it. Let me see what happens. Get rid of them. Maybe I'll just try it like that. I'm just doing that as a lazy way to update the solve and the visualization at once. So it looks like as the colliders are pushing stuff around, maybe they're just pushing too fast, but they're basically causing some like stuff to stack up and overlap on each other in a weird way, I think. It might be again just due to them they're like too big. They push stuff. They overlap and like push stuff on top of each other. You could shrink them, yeah, just around the center. So do like so I just quickly was like shrinking everything, but yeah, maybe if it just happens when they go close to the middle. I'm just trying this right now to see if that was in fact the issue. Looks like it did fix that. I don't know, at the front it's a bit weird. Seems okay. So right here. I think if we do, like if you just look at the length of the position, just the distance from the origin, put that into the color. Uskar, you liked it? Yeah, I think it was looking pretty good at that last test. Forget the app. Forgot it. So yeah, that right now we're just looking at the brightness. Maybe I'll do fit function to remap. So from 1 to 5, remap that into 0 to 1. I'm trying to find them right in that inner radius to make sure they hit black or 0. And then the outer radius. Maybe something like that is okay. And then if I just set this to P scale. All right, so the minimum P scale will just be 1. We'll leave it how it was, and then maybe at the outside they'll get twice as big. Maybe we could even go like 3 times as big. Four times? I don't know. It'd be a mess. See what happens. Whoops. Maybe I'll just update this radius so that it starts already like connected. Let's see what happens. Looks like this stuff here got crossed up. All right, so I don't know, it's still, when it like the colliders move it around, it still has some issues, it looks like. I'm gonna try making the update speed maybe a bit lower. You think it's because the separate is pushing them out? Yeah, so this separate does, it can like lift them off the surface. That's certainly one issue. And then getting projected back. Yeah, so the pop separate will lift them off the surface. That might be what's causing it. Like if you have the P scale too big. Maybe just with this projection, if we just don't do it as much each frame. I don't know if that's a blunder. Might be a blunder. I'm just trying to look in here closer and see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. It looks like right here it was might be because it's just moving too fast with my update amount. Dathan, it's kind of, we're as close to Milky Smooth. We're trying to figure out some stuff. So I think maybe if the colliders move slower, basically either that or I guess just increasing substeps. Throw the milk shader on it. So I'm gonna go back bigger, P scale. And then I think try going more substeps. Let me just make sure I have that. Yeah. It looks like this has some areas that are lifting off of it. Might not be terrible. It's not flickering, but it's better than overlapping. Let me maybe include the colliders in the stuff that I'm projecting against. So I'm just getting both the moving stuff and originally I just had the static torus. I might need to make those bigger to compensate. Just turn off collisions. Yeah, that might... Aha. It's cool. I'm not sure. Not sure if I don't know. Trying to think how I can keep it. Got little brains, mini brains moving around. Trying to think if what would be the way to keep them from growing or spreading onto that stuff. This thing I think needs to be smaller. Yeah, I'm not sure because it's like I think you would still want them as colliders if you want to make sure they don't grow on that area. But I think this is, I don't know, could just go with it this way. Seems to be cooler. So I'm gonna keep them with a bigger key scale. Oh no. All right. So I'm trying to get them a little bit more spaced out. I think the let me go back down. Like the resample plays into the end pattern as well. I think just sometimes increasing your resample length, you can get them spread out a little bit better. Side Effects developed some tools to help people know how various parameters will affect simulations. Yeah, I think I'm kind of going really custom, so it's kind of up to you to build those tools if you're going off the path like this. But I think just their documentation, if they had more like pictures and animations and stuff, it'd be like if you look at the Arnold documentation or stuff like that, it's a bit easier to understand some of the side effects. It's just written in such like a technical sense that sometimes it can be hard to guess or think of what the stuff will adjust. It's like, I don't know, I guess with Arnold and like renderers, it's pretty easy to document, but like simulations, because everything kind of affects each other or itself like repetitively, you can get like unexpected results a lot easier than you could with something like a renderer or something like that. Starting to look cool. I don't know. I think maybe having this the bigger distance was better. When they were like actually covering that stuff. Like a hyperparameter search tool. Yeah, that might be more machine learning or something like that. It sounds pretty elaborate. The best thing I know of right now is to do like either through PDG or through Wedge or stuff like that, and just adjust like a variation, like a spread of parameter values. So like you say try a bunch of different settings between 1 and 10 or something like that. But yeah, if you think about it from like maybe a detangle sap might stop them. Yeah, we could try that. That definitely sounds like it could help. But yeah, you like once you start having 3 or 4 parameters in the mix, like very quickly you just have infinite possibilities of settings that you could achieve, and like I don't know, it just starts to break your head after a little bit. I don't know if how well the detangle will work, because I'm doing everything as like a surface inside of here. You can never get the detangle to work. I think I usually just do P for the previous position, and this default thickness, I might just leave it there. Looks like that's already too much. With the detangle, the max weight, that's like update amount kind of on the gas particle to field. So if you have less of it, it will apply less of it every frame. It might just be the thickness. Maybe I want to do it before the ray. I don't know. You could just do both as well. Like you're just doing several projections. You guys ever look at the this guy Saw Lewitt? The variations of incomplete cubes. So he did these drawings, and that's kind of like the hyperparameter is like every possibility of a 3D box, different ways to draw it or whatever. But yeah, so what I was kind of what I was doing a bad job of explaining is like, here you just have, I don't know, however many edges, 32 edges or however many it is. So he has that many possibilities. But yeah, that would like, once you start having a bunch like parameters with floats, you have kind of infinite amount of settings, but like very quickly you're creating like infinite possibilities essentially. But yeah, this guy is a pretty interesting artist. A lot of his art was just like instruction based. So he would basically write these instructions and his assistants would paint this kind of stuff. So it was like a primitive way of doing computer art or things like that. It's like learning processing or making art with computer in classes. Like a lot of people teach this guy because it's the rudimentary step of it. Like the instructions are the art, or the process is the art, kind of. But yeah, that's an interesting thing to think about, the hyperparameter. You're back. Looks like we changed the topic. You left on revisiting smoke? Were we revisiting smoke today? At the start I talked about particles a little bit, but usually on the Fridays I'm doing just abstract stuff. Sometimes I use smoke solvers and things like that, but I'm just doing, oh, yeah, so sometimes at the start of the stream, while people are coming in, I'll just show stuff I'm working on, but it's not necessarily the topic for the day. It's just catching up or talking about random stuff. Sorry, I didn't mean to mislead people. This is kind of a tease, I guess. But yeah, it's like a brief little Q&A, show and tell kind of stuff. Just to wait till everyone joins the stream or whatever. So let me take a look here without this. It makes, I don't know, like maybe it's just too much. But basically, like, doing detangle and gas particle separate, they're kind of doing the same thing. Like, you could even get rid of the gas particle to separate, maybe. But anytime you're elongating or distorting the curve and then resampling it, it's going to cause it to keep growing or getting out of control. So yeah, maybe doing both of them. Like it might be best just to do this once after the simulation. And you might be able to fix some issues and stuff like that. It might not be that smooth over time, but yeah, I think maybe doing both of them is a bit too much. So yeah, if I just copy that and put one like at the very end here. Yeah, I think also as well, because like the whole time I'm doing the circle that's connected, it looks like these detangle results are different depending on whether you have it opened or closed. So that might have been why it was making more of a mess as well. I think it's possible because, yeah, it's just doing kind of two particle separation iterations. It's possible the gas particle separate like ignores the ones that have a shared edge, but the detangle doesn't, so that causes everything to keep getting longer as well. All right, just tweak this a little bit more. I don't know why this sometimes it has trouble catching on to that stuff. Yeah, it might, like at the end, if I had it on too much, I think it was going to cause some jitteriness to it. If you just do it a very small amount, like it should be okay. But yeah, doing it as a post-process afterwards, it can just add jitter to everything. So it depends how much you try to add to things. So I think it's looking pretty good. It might be time to jump into rendering. See what happens. Rendering. Take a look. What does it look like without visualizing the collision? Yeah, so just let's take a look. And I'm just setting this value kind of arbitrarily. But yeah, you could do it like that kind of. Could be cool. A monster. So yeah, let's do a save. I'm just gonna go somewhat quickly, make the camera, make a light, position the light. I don't know about that. Something from the side, and do our render. All right, pretty boring. So let's get the materials. And get rid of that perfectly smooth highlight or whatever. Do something closer to rubber. And go up exposure. A couple stops. So I might try I'm gonna see what happens maybe doing this as like a map, like a displacement or something. Milk. You try it, yeah. So let's do. I think the subsurface stuff sounds good. I'm gonna give it a try. So yeah, what I'm gonna reuse this XYZ dist stuff. Maybe in a slightly different way. So if I just connect it like that, let me play the simulation. So you can see now it's getting the distance to the curve. Looks like maybe I need some more subdivision, but might be a bit too much. Should be okay. I think we could do maybe the soup to make it a little more optimized to render. So yeah, now we have a particle attribute. So that color right now is the distance the surface is to those curves. Just read the color in. We get it in the shader. You could try. Let's do it. Milky coffee. Let's take a look. This is too much coffee, not enough milk. Maybe go back to this one. Maybe just the subsurface. You gonna order Redshift? You were having the issue before where the free plugin didn't match the latest Houdini, the demo version or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it's too bad they don't have it up to date or whatever. It's kind of a big commitment to have to buy it just to set it up in the first place. Let me see what's going on with this subsurface. Looks like it's kind of working. Maybe if it just has some distortions and stuff. Let's try doing the displacement. We could do it based off of the distance. So maybe close to the curve, we'll displace it the full amount and then go down to 0. So overall, let's just do a smaller displacement. Yeah, it seems like Redshift right now is the best to learn for Houdini, at least. Depends where you're working, but I guess a lot of bigger facilities are still using Mantra or RenderMan or stuff like that, but I think Redshift for commercial advertising seems super super popular right now, and it's only getting bigger. Let's turn on the displacements. Whoops. All right, we got it. This is probably going to be too low of a resolution to do anything. Still saving up. I wish they could do update the free version. Yeah, for speed, like if you're just starting out as well and trying to produce a lot of animations, like actually rendering them, it's pretty slow right now with Karma or Mantra if you just have one computer. The new RTX cards. I've been reading like September, end of September, maybe you'll be able to buy them. Let's try this a little bit. Okay, it was just hard for me to figure out what was going on. This is the shadow, and then they're getting displaced upwards. But our subsurface, the radius is so big that it's like going through the wrinkle. I don't know if this... I've never really done like a proper milk type of shader. And I think another issue, we look at the wireframe. When this is getting displaced, it might not have enough like tessellation. Looks like it has enough right now. I think because my surface is already so subdivided that it's okay. Maybe increase this spread distance. Still pretty late in the Netherlands, in Belgium, right? It's like 2 a.m. All right, let's go back. Almost 1 a.m. Those they must be further east. I thought the Netherlands was further west. Or they must be further west than I thought. Got my directions mixed up. All right, let's do maybe back to the rougher surface. I think my distances here are too messed up. I don't know why this pattern's like only really showing up at the edges right now. It's a little disconcerting. It might be because I just turned this down too low. Maybe I need to reboot the render. I've created an impossible object? Is it displacing in the wrong way? I know I have some issues because the curves are further from the surface in some areas. Yeah, I think the render rebooted. I think it's, yeah, I don't know, it's like pretty quick. I don't know if I need more subdivisions. The wireframe mesh seemed to be okay. It might, I don't know, it's weird to see that much shadow in one area and not in the other. I think I turned the scattering, I moved it back down to see what was happening. But yeah, I could go back to maybe just plastic. Yeah, so it's, yeah, I don't think it's the subsurface. It was showing up at one point. Maybe it's just like too much displacement. Let me disconnect. Just gonna visualize the attribute. So yeah, this maybe I'll try it. Yeah, it looks like it's not recalculating or it's not displacing. Let me try just doing like a global displacement and then just trying this with the displacement blender. So we'll try this as the base layer. And then we'll switch between them with that. Whoops. See what happens. Nothing. It might need a color inside of here. It's possible Redshift doesn't like displacing from an attribute like that. That was why I was like splitting it up using this method. Let me just do the color maker. White. Whoops. Try just maybe a standard noise for driving the displacement. Let's see what this looks like. We should be able to get somewhere close with like the electric. It's kind of similar pattern. Maybe just like turbulence. Whoops. All right. Let's go back to gaseous. All right, I'm just going to go back to the electric. So something, I don't know, kind of what I'm doing, maybe. Let's just get rid of that. All right, it's kind of close. See what happens. Yeah, so I'm just setting up the noise to see to see the pattern that I'm expecting and to make sure the values are the same. So going like originally here, the areas that are 1 I'm displacing, so I set up the noise the same way. The displacement value is the same as well. It works. Yeah, it might be something to do with the particle attribute lookup. Maybe that step doesn't happen until later, like in the mesh building process. Doesn't like to do it, right? So we're doing that from that color. Then if I try it here, definitely moving the surface. It's just not updating the normal. It's a bit weird. Yeah, I don't know if I have enough time in the stream to do that, but you can. That's a good idea to bring it into Cops, or even using the UV bake, the game tools or whatever. You can generate the texture maps. I'm just gonna try turning off auto bump mapping. It's possible. It's like, aha, we did it. I think, yeah, I think it was maybe because it's an attribute, it messes up that setting or something. We avoided the cops. Stayed out of the... Avoided the feds another day. Alright, we're back. So let's maybe go back. I was thinking that one... I don't know if I still have the window open. Yeah. So there was this one, I think at the top of the thing. Yeah, so this like kind of look was pretty cool. I might try going somewhat close. Maybe we'll just start here, but maybe not do red at the end and maybe do something else. But yeah, so we can just do 2 materials maybe. Start with a gold, do a blender. That one button, it's the life of a CG artist. Spend 3 days pulling your hair out and then just slam your fist because of that one button. It was that one setting. We have this color and this color, and then we'll blend using the same bias, the same mix amount. Now we're going from this material to this is our displaced material. Maybe go back. I think my displacement, I just have it too high now. For a programmer, it's a semicolon. For a 3D artist, it's a checkbox. Yeah, I think for the skills that require more brain power, it's easier to make it careless. air of any degree. I guess even as a traditional artist, like if you were a sculptor, you like fire the kiln at the wrong temperature, everything's fucked up. Or certain, yeah, even like with the story about the NASA people when they did their calculations in the wrong units or whatever, and the rocket crashed because of that. Just the smallest thing will destroy it. All right, so maybe this one will add the subsurface. The milk. Kind of like the milk. What do you think? Milk has like a tint of blue in it or something? Yellow? It's like really subtle though, right? I feel like it's super wide and then just off-white. So it's like, I don't know, something. Feels pretty gooey. Maybe the roughness. I'm gonna go back to the geometry. Worm donut. It's a pretty gross looking thing. So, so maybe doing merge with these geos. And then I might just do VDB stuff to boolean them together, like a VDB boolean. So if you just merge the geometry and then do VDB from polygons, it will connect to the mesh. And then I think I can just go back to VDB or back to polygons. I think this mesh got a little bit lower of a resolution. So if you just increase... Looks disgusting. You disgust me. I love it. So yeah, if we could reduce the voxel size and you'll get a better mesh. So maybe the red shader, like a little bit blurrier with the specular. Christmas gross. I don't know if doing the rim. Doing a rim, maybe we'll try it from like both sides. Just do this quickly. the lazy way. I'm gonna turn on the diffuse bounces. Maybe you need to reboot it. I'd expect to see a little more. Feeling pretty slimy. All right, might try some different lighting. Just turn that off. I'm gonna go into the first light. Toothpaste gore. Making a toothpaste commercial. It is the Colgate brand. Yeah, it does kind of look like eyes. I don't know why this... I think I'm on the wrong light with that exposure. Alright. Maybe need to straighten the camera. Alright, I might just try an animation with this and see what happens. So the sampling is going to be super noisy maybe. I don't know. It might be simple enough that it can kind of ray trace it quickly. But yeah, we'll try just rendering to but I might just close the resolution a little bit. My default resolution is almost like 2K. It's like square 1920, so it's a bit overkill for like your first test render. You guys want to see some particle renders I was doing? Ooh. So this was based off of the CoolZone leaks. This is based off of the CoolZone stuff from last week. 1 week ago, I just eliminated the shell shape, and then was just doing like some macro particle kind of stuff. This is a little bit kind of like the chocolate shader or whatever before. Forbidden snacks. This is like gumballs, yeah. Is that still? Everyone's still making sweets. Been seeing a lot more sweets posted online. Who is it? Billy's? Or someone on the Discord was doing the wafer, like the Kit Kat bar or something like that. But yeah, just make. This is like the Dippin' Dots or like little. I don't know, the sprinkles or some kind of confection or something like that. Yeah, so it's subsurface. Thank you, yeah. Someone made the lollipop. But yeah, this one I wasn't really able to figure out what was happening with these little dark areas. I don't know if that's like shadow or reflection or something. But I think it's still... This compositional, I was trying to find some just really good like stuff that feels good even as a thumbnail, like having a focal point or just diagonal and stuff like that. Ah. This is a cool transition. Whoa. This is like the Disney, when they're inside of that in Big Hero 6 or Big Hero 8, whatever it is. 6. What is that? Just the end sequence? When they escape. 0 to 100 real quick. Went from like delicious to like similar over here, gross, like these fractal stuff. It kind of reminds you, I don't know, like Alien, or it's like, say, H.R. Geiger or whatever. It has a bit of that vibe to it. The escape scene, there's like some, yeah, I think it's when he dies, right? He comes back. He flies out of the thing at the end, right? Yeah, Doctor Strange has some, and then what is it? What was that one movie that was like it was real world actors and stuff, but it's like Mirage or Annihilation. There's the fractal at the end of Annihilation, or the woman is like looking into it. But yeah, this is that same thing, I think. Looks like they went pretty soft with it, but you could see it in the background as the mandel bulb. If you look like, they did an animation of it like opening up or whatever. That's pretty cool. Maybe I spelled it wrong. Here it is. Oh no, this one. But yeah, when it first, their first parameter animation was like a explosion or something. Oh, it's a dirty link right there. Get rid of all this extra stuff. Alright, I think I got it. That one should work. Yeah, that's pretty cool to see that that's just their R&D or whatever. Into the portal sequence. I think that's the same sequence that I was playing, but yeah, it's you could always sneak a fractal in. I guess I don't know. Yeah, I guess the wide angle is like I don't remember seeing that one shot. It may be just on different color grading or something like that. But yeah, and then there's the with Arnold render, I think Lee Griggs or someone did a render of a lollipop, but it had a with the refractions, like there was a monster inside of it, maybe. Yeah, here it is. The calamari, the squid. Who's this? I don't know about this website. But yeah, I don't know what a better way is to find it. Search by image address. This could yield some TOS results. Searching tentacles. I guess it was Nick bullshit. I'm not gonna pronounce that properly. But yeah, this is a cool one with mixing the two different things. I think maybe just like the refraction section of the documentation. Somewhere in it they had some different parameters and stuff that was doing that kind of stuff. Let me see where the... Ooh, we're already like halfway through the sequence. The shot, rather. Yeah, I think this is what I was thinking of. I don't know what he put inside of this. Like a DNA helix. It's like a maybe like a Julia set. One of those fractals. It's pretty cool. Put the other stuff in there. I don't know if I lost. There it is. All right, let's take a look. The materials feel pretty. I mean, I pretty much just stole them from that one reference, but the specular, like, and it's creeping you out. The specular stuff feels pretty good. I don't know about the speeds of everything. Like, it always gets a bit tricky to make adjustments to the speed of this unrolling, like the propagation of it. Looks like there is a bit of overlapping as well in that one area. Right there, some bow ties. The diamond diffraction. People always post those super high diffraction value renders. Colors get super funky. Yeah, I think because the renderers aren't doing spectral wavelengths, like when you push the diffraction super high, you get interesting colors for sure because it's like lots of gradients and stuff like that, but when you push the values super high, you get away from like realistic. But yeah, it gets hard to adjust. Yeah, I think the renders, like when you do diffraction, it's I think it's just doing 3 different IORs for each red, green, blue channel, and then like merging the BSDFs or BRDFs or whatever. So it's not as, I mean, it gets you interesting results and stuff, but it's just not accurate. I think with like Maxwell render, that will do like spectral based. But yeah, I don't know, like if I was to keep going with this, I would probably tweak some of this timing of the animation. Maybe going back to the spiral or the twisting offset of this, so it's a little bit more irregular or something. Or maybe just have these, instead of linked to the scene time, just animate like on off, kind of like that. But I think I might have to leave it where we are right now, for now. But yeah, I think maybe trying out some other ways to retime it could be nice. Just so you could do like time ramp, slow-mo segment, some flickering pulsing or something like that as well. Yeah, I saw Ben Watts's Venom R&D. It's pretty cool. There's like the super nice branching structures and stuff like that he was getting from it. I never actually saw the full Vellum film. I've seen breakdowns and stuff from it, but I never watched the whole thing. Yeah, I think this, I don't know, my displacement map might be like causing stuff to overlap. Some of the bow tie stuff is somewhat cool, because it's kind of like a DNA helix or something. Yeah, I heard it was pretty bad. I think that's why I didn't watch it. But yeah, oof, didn't mean to do that. Some of the areas where it twists, just one twist, like an X, is pretty cool. But wow. But yeah, I think I still would make like a few more passes on some of this stuff before I post it, or if I do end up posting it. We'll see. Yeah, these brains right here are pretty cool. Thing to happen. All right, this is gross and everyone out. So I'm gonna leave it here. I'll need to upload the other video from Wednesday to YouTube. I'll upload this one, and the scene file, we'll put it in the Discord under the stream archive tab. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Another CoolZone. Get the beers out, crack them. Hope everyone has a good evening sleep. It's probably late for most of the EU people. Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow.